Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's squad announcement ahead of home and away fixtures with Belgium next week. And Kirsty, we'll begin with you, if that's okay.
Hi. Good, thanks.
Well, in terms of this squad, there was some pre-announcement speculation over whether we'd see both Beth Mead and Chloe Kelly in the same squad. Individually, what do they both bring?
Quality. What you see now at Arsenal too, they swap around a bit. They're totally different wing players, and they bring something different, which helps the team, I think. And that's what I expect them with us too. That we have opportunities up front that we can use and hopefully harm the opponents.
Chloe Kelly's had a tough start to the season. How important is it to see her back enjoying her football and back, importantly, getting some pitch time?
Yeah, of course that's important, because then you get in a rhythm. What we want, of course, that she shows her qualities and that she's at her best, because that will help the team. And then first you need the minutes, and what you can tell that she's enjoying it now.
And Fran Kirby is back. She seems to be really finding her feet now at Brighton and thriving again. How good is that to see, and what does an in-form Fran Kirby bring England?
Yeah, she brings, of course, lots of experience, good football vision. On her position, there's a lot of competition going on, but she knows exactly what's expected on this level of the game, and you can see that at Brighton too, what she brings.
Just talking more generally about the women's game, we've seen some real positives. We've seen some record-breaking crowds outside of the WSL, the likes of Newcastle, Ipswich, Bournemouth, at big stadiums. How positive is that for the game?
Yeah, that's really positive. It shows the growth of the game. It shows that people are very excited about the game and want to watch, and that's really good. And hopefully we'll keep growing, and it goes with ups and downs, but this is really good, and we need to see all these good things and keep working hard to make get everything in a better place.
And just on a negative, we have seen some criticism recently about some of the pitches that the players have been on. I'm thinking specifically of the Real Madrid game recently. How concerned are you about seeing your players on those kind of pitches?
Yeah, of course, that was really disappointing. The weather was horrible there, and you had hoped that they would play in Bernabeu. I don't know how you pronounce that, or how you say it in English, but then I think he could have prevented. I think it would have been a little bit hard anyway because of the weather circumstances there. But you want better pitches. There have been some moments now that the pitches were actually really poor, a little bit dangerous too, and that's what we said with ups and downs. We need to keep working on these things and get players on pitches that are really good, that they can show their performances at the highest level, but also that takes away risks of injuries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kirsty.
Hi, Sarina. Nice to see you. We often talk about kind of the balance between the short-term aim of the next game in the Nations League, and then the slightly longer-term look at the Euros preparation as well. Where do you feel we sit in that balance going into this camp with the second last one before the tournament?
Yeah. Well, of course, we approach the Nations League. We want to do really well in the Nations League because that gives us a better position for the qualifying for the World Cup. But at the same time, it is preparation for the Euros. So we want to see players. And we want to take the opportunity to see these players in our environments, in training sessions, but also in the games, of course. And the closer you get to the tournaments, the more decisions or more decisive decisions you will have to take for the tournament. That's too early now, but of course, again, this next camp will give us a lot of information about where players stand. I know we also have some injuries, and hopefully, the players who are injured can come back in a pretty good period of time that we can see them where they're at.
Yeah, you mentioned the injuries. Do you have any kind of update on where we're at with Alex or Georgia or Lauren? Any of those?
Well, I can't be very specific on all these injuries. There's a list of it. They have been out for a while, and it will take some more time. I can't give you any time schedule on that. I think that's something also for the club. I can tell you my hopes that they are back in a good shape and ready to play, of course, in the short term and get ready for, of course, it starts with performances and being fit, but for Euros.
And can I also ask you about the World Sevens football tournament that was announced last week? Obviously, it's launching in May. How would you feel about potentially some of your players playing in an extra seven-a-side tournament 6 weeks before the Euros?
Yeah, it's. I've read it too, of course. I think in the longer term, like you see, they're planning a bit. I don't see how you can get that fit in the schedule. If you look at the short term before these Euros now, for some players, I think they would play, and there's collaboration with clubs. We have very good contact with clubs, and they would get some, meaningful minutes to get prepared for the Euros and do what's right to get at the best possible shape for the Euros. Then in this short term, for some it would not be too bad. But in longer term, I don't see how we can fit that in the schedule, in the calendar.
Players have quite understandably in the past talked about fears about being overloaded, about playing too much football. Do you think the addition of this new tournament would at all undermine those concerns?
Well, like we're talking about the longer term on this tournament, the shorter term, if you see now the calendar for this summer, there is a gap, and there's a gap of no football, and where players can have a little bit of rest, but at the same time, players need to keep going because you want to be at your best at the Euros, and there's a window where we play Portugal and Spain in May, June, and there's a gap of, there's a gap of no competitive games for about a month, and of course I'm a bit worried about that because players who are coming back for injuries, they want to keep going, get in a rhythm. So that's a challenge in the calendar, which I hope will be solved in the future.
And just finally on that topic, have you received any assurances that if any of your players were to be involved in that seven-a-side tournament, that they wouldn't be kind of overworked essentially?
No, I haven't got any assurances. What we have done club visits, we have had conversations with clubs, and what we all want in collaborations that the players who are selected for the squad come in really fresh and fit and ready to go, and that's the aim. It's all about performances at the Euros, and that's what we're talking about. And we have a very good relationship with all the clubs we've spoken to.
And also, there's been some reports in the past weeks as well about maybe a bit of an impasse between players and the FA over bonuses related to the Euros. Just what's your read on that situation and those negotiations?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised about the article. I think that the FA and the players are in conversation about that. And for my opinion, what I've heard from it, I'm not involved in these conversations, we're going into the right direction. And I hope we'll keep going and we get to an agreement very quickly, because that brings calmness before the tournament.
Yeah, there was obviously a comparable situation maybe before the World Cup. Is there any frustration that there's conversations about this topic again?
I wouldn't compare the two because it is a little bit different because the UEFA is involved, the FIFPro has been involved in these things. So I think and I hope that we get to an agreement pretty soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kip. Go to Emma.
Hi, Sarina.
Hi.
I just want to ask about Jess Naz, because obviously she's not been included in this squad. Is that purely based on selection, or is there any injury concerns there?
No, there's no injury concerns. That's based on selection.
Yeah, was that just because of the high competition for the other players in that position?
Yeah, there is high competition going on, and I think Jess has been struggling a little bit with her form, and hopefully she gets that back. But of course, she's close to selection.
And other young players that have been called up, obviously Maisie Simon's getting her first call up. What have you seen in her that's really impressed you?
Yeah, so of course in midfield, what you have seen, we have some injuries in midfield. We've been following Maisie, of course, played at Brighton, but also played good games for the under-23s. So this gives an opportunity for her to show in our environment what she's about, and to see where she is related to the other midfielders we have in our squad. I'm really looking forward to that, to see where she's at.
and Kiara Keating as well, coming back into the squad. It's
Yeah.
probably been a difficult, few seasons for her. It's been quite up and down.
Yeah.
What sort of message did you give to her when you told her that she was coming back into the fold and you wanted to see her again?
Yeah, she's a very talented goalkeeper, and that's what we could all we have seen that again this weekend. So we want her in our environment. We're getting closer to the Euros. So looking at this camp now, but also having a look at the Euros, we bring in 4 goalkeepers. While you can in the tournament can only bring 3, and we just want to have them 4 goalkeepers in our squads and have them in our environment next week.
She was obviously involved in the Manchester City game against Chelsea. The 2 teams playing each other 4 times. I mean, it's unreal, really.
Yeah.
But have you enjoyed watching that kind of battle?
To be honest, yes. For the neutral one, it's exciting. It's of course a little bit strange situation that you play each other 4 times, but I think we've seen so many aspects of the game from both teams that so far I've really enjoyed it, watching it.
Good, thank you.
Thanks, Emma. David?
Hi, Sarina.
Hi.
How much confidence did the squad take from the win over Spain, and can they carry that all the way forward to the summer?
Yeah, I think a lot of confidence. I think we showed ourselves that we are still a top team. We had a bit, of course, disappointment against Portugal. Well, I did think tactically Portugal did a couple of things really well. We had to adapt to that. So that was a different game. In between these games, we had some team meetings and conversation, and you could see a shift, and you could feel on the pitch and see on the pitch. We really fought for this win, and we knew ahead of it that it was a very competitive game, of course, because Spain is the world champion. So that brings confidence to the team. Showed ourselves with, of course, some changes in the team, because what we say, we have a New England, different players in different stages of their career. So that brings us confidence. Looking forward to Belgium now. We've played Belgium, of course, in the Nations League before. They'll give us different challenges again, where we have to adapt to again, and that's absolutely what we want to show next week. It's going to be two tough games, but I'm really looking forward to meet up with the team again and see how we can continue what we were doing last camp.
Yeah, obviously Belgium have reached the Euros, lost their last 2 games, but they have scored plenty of goals in recent games. So what are you expecting? What challenges will they face?
Yeah, I think they're very tough, very compact, tough team. Can play some physical, and they have a lot of, in the counter-attack, they're really, really dangerous. So they can harm many teams in that aspect. So yeah, and they have a low block and it's really tight. So we have to be really patient next week in our game and be very tight on the ball and take out counter-attacks.
You're playing them twice in 5 days, which doesn't always happen. Do you enjoy that, the prospect of facing them twice?
We've done that the last time we were with them in the group, and we had that with France, of course, too. It doesn't really matter if I enjoy it or not. This is the reality. This is what we have to approach, and we want to show up in our best possible shape and play our best games 2 times in a row, on Friday and on Tuesday.
And you talked about the goalkeepers. There's real competition in all areas of the pitch. Is it performances in these games coming up, or is it league games you're looking at when you're making big decisions for the final?
Sorry, you have to repeat that question.
Sorry, so you have competition.
I understand you're talking about the 2 goalkeepers.
Yeah, so you have goalkeepers, obviously strong goalkeepers. You have to make a choice there and in other areas. But is it the games coming up now, or league matches overall for when you make your choices for the finals?
Yeah, it's a very, very hard decision to make, because as now we have four very good goalkeepers in the squad. You're talking about Hannah and Mary, who are really competing for the number 1 position. They're both world class. They both bring a little bit different things, but that makes it really hard. We haven't decided if we make the decision now. We first have conversations with them, then we move forward.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any final questions? Yep.
Just one for me, Sarina. We've got England's very long injury list at the moment. So how is the younger players currently stepping up in the squad? How is that going to impact going into the Euros?
I don't know yet, because let's see. Of course, many young players have come in. working really hard, are excited, and I think the whole team also tries to support them. That's back and forth, by the way. And yeah, they're all. At the end, it's all about being the best in that position and have a big contribution to the team performances. And I hope that I have many hard decisions to make when we make the squad announcement after next, not this camp, but before the Euros. And then we know who are available and in performance-wise in a good position.
Great. Cool. We'll end it there. Thanks so much.
Okay.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks all.